Okay, so we just got a new greenhouse, like ordered a new greenhouse, and I'm gonna put that together. I'm gonna show you what I did with that because the old system wasn't working. So I have a lot of plants, and right now I'm using the bed of my El Camino in order to keep the plants, the rain off of them and stuff like that. And clearly that's a bad idea, but it's the best that I had for like the storms that immediately came. So we ordered this guy online, and I'm preparing the base before I put it down. These are some old bricks we picked up on Craigslist from like somebody like redoing the foundation of their like old like vintage house. And so I just laid these bricks down, and then I've got this sand here, and I'm just going to take the sand and like sweep it onto the bricks to like kind of fill in the space and lock the bricks in. So the first step is to just sort of pour the sand all over the place, like just kind of wherever. So then you just take your broom and you just sort of like sweep it around until it gets in. You see it's like in all the little nooks and crannies, just to kind of fill that space in, which gives you like a nice prepared surface. But it also means that like if I have to adjust something or whatever, it still adjusts and like adapts to being like, you know, like if one of these like compacts, like you see this guy's like a little loose here or whatever. So like, yeah, it just kind of locks and tightens all these guys in. So after I opened the boxes, I separated all the sticks, the aluminum rails and such by size and shape. And then I highly recommend you review all of the instructions before you get started to see what does and does not need to happen. To that end, these metal bits here have like that like sticky plastic on them, so that's going to be a whole nightmare. So I've just finished assembling the bottom half of the frame, and soon I am putting in the panels. All right, it's been a few days since I got the superstructure of the bench built up, as you can see. So this is all in place. It is not resting against the sides of the greenhouse and is like self-standing as well as self-level. So the greenhouse is a little off of level because of the bricks that the brick floor that the greenhouse is sitting on, because these are not cemented in, these are just like loose on the ground bricks, and the slope that I'm on like sort of slants a little bit here. So the greenhouse is a little crooked, but the bench is actually remarkably level, which meant that everything had to be like custom cut. But so I'm now putting on the decking for the surface of the bench. So first things first, I had to cut this board. As you can see, I drilled out the corners and then cut these with a jigsaw, which I am terrible at, and then and then went over the jigsaw cuts with my chop saw to clean them up a little bit. And you can see, I mean, it's not perfect. There's like there's where the hole is like a little off for me to get the jigsaw blade in there. But again, this is just it's a bench that's going to last a long time just because of the construction material, as well as it's got to have plants and like dirt, mud and shit on it. So this is my gardening bench, so it's okay if it's not like perfectly crisp and clean cuts. So now that I've got that in, it's time for me to figure out exactly how I'm going to do spacing and things like that. And to that end, I wanted to bring you guys along with the way that I do this stuff. So these are all scrap pieces of 2x4 from other cuts that I've done. This piece of 2x4 and this guy down here are from some leg assemblies that I was going to do that I ended up not doing because of the way that these had to fit down here. Forgive the garbage truck going by. I did a bad job planning, and as you can tell, I cannot see out. So I did not know they were coming until after I started recording. Anywho, so what I like to use whenever I'm doing this sort of a project that's not like fully planned out, like the bookshelf that I did in the house is fully planned out. Whereas this project was like, it's gonna fit how it fits. It's rougher planning, as it were. So what I like to do is keep all the scrap and offcuts inside in the project parameters here, so I can do testing. So for this, what I was doing, and I just got done going over this with Julie, was that if I line all these up like this, kind of with that back edge, and you can see it gives me this little bit of a lip there that this one can sit on here, like this, which allows me to test, okay, how many boards do I need? So I still need to cut 4 boards for the all the way across part, as well as I can keep the rest of these boards sort of like in this alignment here, like this, right? So that way I can tell, like, okay, so I'll need 4 boards, and then I'll do the rest of the bench like this way instead of like this way, right? Because I don't have a center mount here for those to attach down to. And I'll be able to make these out of the scrap offcuts from the stuff that I'm doing, which is gonna, reduce the amount of lumber I need to do this project. I always buy extra, right? Like, I calculated this to need something in the order of around 25 2x4s, and I ended up buying 30 2x4s, not like because of a price break, but because you're always wrong. You always got to do, you always screw up one cut sort of a thing. But so looking at this is going to do it with like no spacing, as you can see, because my original thought was I made these 16 inches across, so that way I could do like a little bit of spacing in between the slats, sort of like that look. So that way, like, if I'm doing something with mud or with like dirt, then the debris will just fall through. And as I've thought about this, that's not gonna work. So I used to have a bench at the old house that we lived in that had, that I built out of 2x4s like this, that didn't have the spacing. It was just butt, and it was more than strong enough, and I never had a problem. And it just sat outside, like it didn't even have a cover like this one does. It worked perfectly fine. So I'm gonna keep this, instead of doing the spaces like this, which is just gonna, because I'm gonna put boards across the bottom, down here like this. So because I'm gonna have boards across the bottom also, it's just gonna put the dirt down there. That's not useful. And there's enough space along the sides for me to be able to like sweep to the sides or vacuum, like just shop vac it up and then dump the shop vac out or whatever. So I find that doing the spacing isn't going to be helpful, as well as you can see, it doesn't give me very much of a lip here, just like the tiniest little bit of a lip here. Get down here like this. You see, it only gives me like the tiniest bit of a lip down here, and it keeps me at, this makes my bench top like 16 and maybe quarter, 16 and a half inches wide. Whereas if I do this, it's going to make this frontmost bench part way wider, as you can see, which is what I want, because this is going to be the primary working space. Over here, I'm hoping actually to put a fish tank, which will keep humidity and temperature in here a little bit more regulated, but also allow me to grow fish tank plants for my fish tanks, so that way I can have like a place just to grow like anacris and like fern and like Java fern and stuff like that. And then over here, assuming that this fits and I need to go underneath the house to get it, but I have like a steel sink, like a metal sink that I'm gonna put in here that most of the time is just gonna be used as like shelf, right? Just like a place to set stuff. But when I need to, I'll be able to slide a 5-gallon bucket underneath and then use my hose and just sort of like rinse roots off for bonsai. Because when I'm doing bonsai, I have to clean out the roots. So that's what I'm doing that for. Also, this has like no association with this project, but when I first set up this greenhouse, right, I immediately noticed that mosquitoes are like, okay, we're stealing your house. This is mosquito house now. House mosquito. And that shit's unacceptable. I don't want to deal with mosquitoes. I don't get ate up by them. Like, you can even see there's a boy right here who's gonna get mushed. So I don't mess with mosquitoes. I don't want any of that stuff. So I needed a bug zapper, and I just happened to find a bug zapper that runs off of my batteries. I am not associated with Ryobi, and I only just got this, so I don't have, like, a review on how good it is, but, like, I'm definitely going to let y'all know if it pans out the way that I think it is. It's already popped, like, 2 of them into, like, tiny little particulate, so very hype on that energy. To keep the mosquitoes down, Julie gets ate up by them. I do not, luckily. But, so, yeah, this is doing really good. I burst the second bag of sand while I was trying to move it out of here, because I was using it as a seat, yesterday, or 2 days ago when I was building the superstructure, like the down low parts, because my back hurts and I don't want to have to bloody hunch. And, so that got damp and burst, so I gotta dust that around or whatever. I'll figure that out after the fact. So, yeah, come along for the rest of the tabletop build, and then the underneath top build, whatever you call that, and we'll just look at this, what it looks like at the end. And I'm still unsure what I'm going to do with this, with the shelves. I think I'm going to be using cedar fence planks, because these are 3.5, so 2x4 is like, 1.5 by 3.5. 1 3/4 by 2 by 3 3/4, whatever. But the cedar fence boards are 5.5 wide, so I'll probably do that across here and just use, like something like this, just screwed into the side. That's just super short, like a little nubbin, in order to set those on top of. But I don't know what I'm going to do with that exactly. I'll figure that out as we go. So anyway, let's get back to the project. Okay, so I've cut all the boards out and sanded the edges so they're not like tarry. None of these are screwed down yet. I'm gonna come back in and screw all these down, but I need to like fit everything to make sure that like fit. Nice amount of trim. These boards here, as you can see, you've got like a less of a lip and then more of a lip, because this board is at an angle, because this board should be over like 1.5 inches, and I did bad math, but it doesn't matter. So also, the reason why this, like, dirty sink is here is because, so, I have 2 of these sinks. One I'm currently, it just popped. One I'm currently using as, like, a plant place for one of my fish tanks, for one of my ponds. And, so I didn't want to take that out because it's, like, pouring rain outside right now. So I'm trying to do, like, as little in the wet part as possible. But I thought this was going to fit in here, and I did not, and this is on me, right? So, learn from me. Do as I say, not as I do. I did not measure this beforehand, and I thought that this was a lot smaller than it is. And as you can tell, it is definitely not gonna fit here, because this is like 18.5, and my bench is only 16 deep. So we're not gonna put a sink in here. I have, I think, one more sink underneath the house that might work, and I just need to find it. So I'm gonna dig that out and see if I can find that and measure that. And if that doesn't work, then this sink will not sit here, and we'll instead get a specialty, I think I have extra 2x4s when I'm done with this project anyway. We'll get a specialty frame around it that'll just sit outside of the greenhouse that I can use as a washdown sink. And so my greenhouse will just sit, like, probably on this side of the greenhouse. Right now I have a mulch bin, compost bin there that has been there for a couple of years now and needs to be moved anyway. So I might just put the sink there, like, in the back corner, with, like, maybe, like, a little bit of cover or something like that. Since, like, it's primarily not going to be used for, like, it's not like a sink. I'm not using it for, like, a kitchen sink. I'm using it for, like, plants and stuff. So it don't matter if it's out in the rain or nothing like that. So, yeah, anyway, this sink is not going to be here. And as you can see, when the sink is lifted, we're just going to have these, like, just slats like this. I will catch you after I screw all these in.